Good morning and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. Always great to be doing this podcast, to be doing this interview and getting great information out there for all of you students and even parents who need more information for their students. Today, we're going to be interviewing Ms. Cherith, and this is going to be great because this is the number one question I've been getting from students who are either trying to go to college or with social media thinking, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go to college. So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and please help me welcome Ms. Cherith.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I still have to comment about your view, even though listeners are not going to see it, but it's an amazing view. It's a beautiful day, so let's start from right there.
Absolutely.
So let's get right to it, Cherith. A little bit about yourself. Since I started doing this interview, I'm amazed as to all the different backgrounds which people started off on and where they ended up. So tell us a little bit about yourself and if this is what you've always envisioned yourself doing.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever had that second part of that question. So I was born in northeastern Pennsylvania and moved to North Carolina when I was 7 years old. I come from a big family, so I'm the oldest of 12 kids. And so I think just growing up in an environment where it was always a little loud, a little crazy, helped prepare me for what I call the world of entrepreneurship or small business. So growing up in just that environment, I went to a small church school. Was in a pretty kind of tight-knit community. And after I graduated from high school, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And so I actually took a year off and kind of started figuring things out. I went to work in the restaurant industry, which taught me so much.
And this was after high school?
Yep.
Okay.
After high school. And then I knew I wanted to further my education. I love to learn. And so I actually enrolled at Wake Tech. And so I got my associate's degree here at Wake Tech and then transferred over to NC State and got my bachelor's degree in business with a concentration in entrepreneurship. So my grandfather has his own business, and he's since sold it, but he still owns some of the property that it was on. And so I grew up kind of hearing some of the stories of him being a small business owner and an entrepreneur. And then I grew up around multiple other entrepreneurs. And so being in that kind of small business environment, I was always inspired by people's ability to have a dream and make it happen. And so when I started exploring options for what I wanted to do at NC State, I looked at accounting very briefly and realized that that's not where my gifts are. There are people who are great at sitting in front of lots of spreadsheets, and so I really decided to focus on entrepreneurship. While I was in college, I started my first business flipping houses. And then before I took this role, I started a second business. So those two businesses taught me a lot. And while I was running my second business, I actually came upon this position here at Wake Tech, running the Small Business Center. And I said, that would allow me to work with so many more people than I am right now. And was really excited about the opportunity and applied and got the position and have had the honor of working with many small business owners here in Wake County, both students and non-students. But most of the folks that I work with at some point have come through Wake Tech for something.
Wow. So there's quite a little bit to unfold here based on what you've just said. I like the fact that you say you went to a small Christian school, which kind of reminded me of my college was also actually a small Christian college.
Okay.
So let's get to entrepreneurship, some of the definitions and terms. When I hear entrepreneurship, I'm thinking small business.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Oh, that's such a good question. So you can be a small business owner, and some people would say not an entrepreneur. I think what they mean by that is that entrepreneurship, you can be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur in an organization. And I think that a lot of times what people would define as the difference is an entrepreneur is someone who is innovating, who is thinking about how to do things better, who is persistent and gritty, who doesn't give up just because it gets a little bit tough or because there's no obvious answer. And so I think that's one of the differences of when you hear the two words. And I think that many times small business owners are entrepreneurs, and there are many times that employees are entrepreneurs within organizations. So I think that's probably one of the simplest ways that I've seen the two differences.
So now, almost every student, I should actually say almost every student that I know from high school, getting ready to go to college, one of the very first episodes we did actually with a group of professors was college or no college, since that's the question most of the high school students will ask while they're trying to make the decision whether they should pursue college.
Yeah.
I think with social media, and also just the incentives that we have now for students to say, you know what, I'm not ready for college. I probably need to take some time off. So I'm going to ask kind of a two-part question here.
Okay.
From your experience, for a student who is still trying to figure out whether they should go into entrepreneurship or start a small business right after high school, what would your suggestion be?
Ooh. That's such
Are you okay with a student saying, I'm not sure, I'm going to take a year off to figure things out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that, depending on how you're raised as a child, what happens in your home, you may or may not have explored the thing that you're best at. So your gifts, and so if you don't know what your gifts are, what you're great at, you're still figuring that out. And there are many adults still figuring that out.
Absolutely.
Then it may be worth taking some part-time classes, getting a job to get some experience, and then going to school. My college education was everything for, life-changing for me. But college can have, you can learn a lot in many classrooms. It doesn't have to be the traditional 4-year degree. And being at Wake Tech before I went to NC State was really helpful for me because I got to, I think, learn in an environment that was really complementary to me as I was working full-time. I was completely taking care of myself. I didn't have any extra help. So having to navigate that, I felt like I was supported here at Wake Tech in doing that.
Good. So you had alluded to the fact that you grew up with family that were already kind of entrepreneurship minded. Mm-hmm. For a student, and maybe even for me, if you go to college and you say, this is what I want to do, entrepreneurship, are there programs that students can pursue specifically for entrepreneurship?
Yeah, there are. And so I have my business degree, but a minor or concentration in entrepreneurship. So there are many entrepreneurship certificates now and degrees. And so while you can learn kind of the background, the basics, it's like any other degree. It's, engineering, accounting, you have to get out and start doing it before you really master it. So you can learn so much in the classroom. That's part of the journey.
Are some of those classes very specific to, hey, if you have an idea, you want to start a business, this is what you have to do? How many courses or entrepreneurship courses are there that are required for you to take if that's what you want to do?
Yeah, so I'm sure it depends on the certificate and the program. When I got my degree, it was one of the earliest entrepreneurship concentrations available. And so I'm sure it's changed a little bit since then. But we did a lot of really understanding how to discover what your customer might need, how to just brainstorm, finding solutions, how to develop a product or a service. So those things are very valuable. I would say for the average small business owner or the person who wants to start a small business, while going and getting a degree can be really helpful, there are a lot of other supports in place too. So for someone who is, maybe they're already in a career and they want to take the expertise they have, there are a lot of support things we have here at Wake Tech, but also across the triangle to help them.
Okay. So personally, I think what would have helped me is when I was in college, pursuing engineering was to probably figure out, hey, are there any entrepreneurship courses that I could take? I think that would have been great. But unfortunately, I don't think when I was in college, there was even anything like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right. So for students who might go to college, but always still have kind of the business mindset. I know you mentioned you did a minor in that. Would you advise a student to pursue what they want to pursue and probably also do the entrepreneurship on the side as well to try to figure out both, or would you say just focus on entrepreneurship?
Well, your gift is engineering,
right.
So you are able to build things. But within that, there could be an opportunity for you to do that as your own business. So I think that it's helpful to do both if you can. If you're taking some of the classes that will help you do this technical thing that you're an expert at, and then taking some entrepreneurship support classes so that you can know how to apply that to your business. Because you can learn how to build something as an engineer, but that doesn't mean you know how to sell it. Correct. Or how to manage your books or how to market it. So those are the things that you learn in the classroom and then apply in the real world if you're taking those entrepreneurship classes versus just focusing on your degree. Yeah. I hear a lot of times doctors who are thinking about opening their own practice and they say, we aren't taught how to manage a medical practice in medical school. So you're taught how to be the technical expert in what you do. And so having that complement of this is how you manage a business makes such a difference to being able to do it well.
So I feel like I should just focus my whole business ideas and what I have to do, but let's focus on the students. And then maybe we'll come back to that. So how many students, and again, when I'm thinking about a business, right? For some reason, I think you have to be an adult to start a business, right? And I don't know if I could put an age limit on that, but from your experience, at what point in a college or student life would you say, if they really have a strong business plan, at what point you say, okay, I think you're ready, you could go and start your own business?
Oh, I'm encouraging all ages, if they want to, if they want to learn, because you can learn, even if it's a small side business. We had one of our counselors had a little side fried chicken business in his dorm room when he was in college. So he was selling fried chicken in his dorm room, whether or not he was following all of the rules, right. But he was being entrepreneurial. We had a kid that was selling hot chocolate in the parking lot across from my son's elementary school because he was trying to earn some money to buy something that he wanted. So I love to see those examples of early entrepreneurship because you learn how to manage money, you learn how to market, you learn how to talk to your customers and see what they need, and all of those skills will help as children become adults. So I think as long as they're interested, I say go for it. And obviously as a child you need supportive adults to help you manage it. But yeah.
Walk me through a typical counseling session. Let's say I come to you with an idea.
Right.
Walk me through that process.
So part of what we do here is we offer confidential one-on-one business counseling. And that is protected as confidential by state law and is funded by your tax dollars. So you have paid for it when you file and pay your taxes. When somebody comes to us and says, hey, I have an idea, what's next? What we do is we work at your pace to help you develop the product or service that you want to sell, your business. So usually the conversation starts with, me just understanding more about where you're at, what you've done so far, because some people may say, I have this idea, but then when I start talking to them, I realize they've been selling this thing for years to friends and family or, on the side here and there. And other people may have just the idea and not have developed a product or service yet. So those are two very different conversations. So we really try to understand where they're at in the process to help guide them through the next best steps. So for some people, it may be starting to explore writing a business plan. But for someone else, it may be, hey, you've already proven that you have an idea or that you have a product or service that people will buy. So let's help you figure out how to sell more of that product or service and maybe turn this into a full-time business.
Okay. So you got to be very honest with me. If I bring an idea and this is ridiculous, it's not going to go anywhere, right? Are you going to tell me?
Okay, so that's a great question. Here's the thing with that. Yeah. Your idea might seem crazy to me, but that doesn't mean it actually won't work. So if you think about the history of some giant companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google, 15 or 20 years ago, we might have said, that's crazy, that's never going to work. But look at those businesses now. So I don't think that I have enough expertise to tell you whether or not your business is a good idea. But what I can do is help you ask the right questions to put the framework in place to build a successful business. Did that answer your question?
Perfect.
Okay.
That was perfect. So on the same lines of that question is projection, right? Mm-hmm. It is so fearful, or I think at times we think we're taking a big risk to jump, make an investment in there. How well are you all able to kind of forecast? Maybe that's kind of another way to say, this idea might be great, but I'm not sure, what is going to happen down the line. Yeah. Are there any projection techniques you all have in terms of forecasting to say, this business will be good here, there, or not? Why?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So we have a couple of tools that we encourage our small business owners to use. One of them is a simple spreadsheet that I developed with the help of a friend of mine who has a PhD in math. So I said, okay, you can help me make sure this spreadsheet has no errors. And it allows a small business owner, student, to put in all of their personal financial needs. So let's say they need $3,000 a month to live. And then let's say their business costs are $1,500 a month, and that each product that they sell is $5. So they can put all of those numbers into the spreadsheet, and it will calculate for them how many of that product they need to sell every single day based on the number of days they're selling products in order for them to reach those financial goals. So we have that tool, and then we also have a financial forecasting tool that's a little bit more sophisticated in that you can say, okay, I'm opening a coffee shop. I think I'm going to sell this many lattes, this many muffins, and this many cookies. And I can put in all of my staffing costs. I can put in how much I'm going to be remitting in sales tax, how much I'm going to be paying in sales or in income tax. I can put all of those numbers into this tool, and then I can run a 12-month financial projections to see how much I think this business is going to make. The thing about working with a counselor when you're doing the financial forecast, because it is intimidating and it's really a step-by-step process, is having that counselor help you see whether or not the numbers that you've put in are realistic. So if you're opening a coffee shop and you need to sell 1,000 cups of coffee a day, is that possible? Is that a realistic number? And so another part of the tool is that you can benchmark across your industry. So if you are opening a coffee shop, you can say, okay, is this realistic based on all the other coffee shops in the Southeast who are making this much money per year? So that helps, and it's not an exact science. I mean, There's so many variables. COVID was a huge variable that you can't really financial fork, Nobody's going to say, oh, I think we're going to have a worldwide pandemic.
Right.
But those tools will help small business owners make their best guess. And it's doing one number at a time. Okay, I know that my business is going to cost this much for, let's say, keeping my website up. So I put that number down. And I say it's totally worth the time it takes for a small business owner and a student who has their own business to make sure that they understand how much of a product or service they need to sell in order to meet their financial goals.
Great. What traffic are you having in terms of people coming to you to share ideas or start a small business?
Yeah.
Is it students? Is it adults, graduates?
Yeah.
What type of?
We have students, we have people who've taken classes at Wake Tech, and we have many adults in Wake County. I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you saw that some of the news headlines about how many people started businesses in 2021. It was a record high in North Carolina. 185,000, I believe it was, people started businesses in North Carolina last year. And so we see that here. We get requests every day from people who are trying to figure out, how do I start this business successfully? Because usually when somebody's starting a business, it's because they want to create a better life for themselves and their family. So we get a lot of requests, a lot of interest. We offer our webinars, our training, 1 to 2 hour long training sessions. And we have a lot of people attending those and trying to learn more about how to start a business successfully.
Okay, that's great. For the students, I'm trying to get as much information as I could get for the students.
Yeah.
For a student that is in school, has got a full load, and we did talk about some of the courses they could take, maybe some entrepreneurship courses they could take. What would be your advice for them? Are you able to say, this is a great idea, let's finish college, or at this business, I know you mentioned cookies, so those are kind of basic. If a student, are you able to advise a student to do that with their college work, or is it focus on your school, finish, and then see if you could pursue this business, or do you have a combination?
I think it depends on what industry they're in, and where they're at personally. So if, let's say that we have a student who's in culinary and they want to open some type of bakery. If they wanted to open a bakery where they're selling goods at the farmer's market on the weekends and that didn't conflict with their classes.
That's a great business idea. Is somebody already doing that?
Somebody's already doing that. So that's a good way just to learn a little bit more about what your customers want. And so it just depends. But if you're in an industry where you need some kind of professional certification, then you often need to, maybe you could go work and get experience with someone else, but you can't open your own plumbing business if you don't have the license. So it really depends on the industry. But I tell, anytime someone can get experience, whether it's doing it on the side or going and working for a small business, it's so valuable.
Well, I'm definitely signing up. I'm definitely going to sign up for counseling to get some ideas. So far as the students, and by the way, this is a beautiful campus. I drive by here, and based on what you're telling me, it is actually open not just to students, right? Anyone could come in.
Yeah.
If let's say I wasn't part of this organization and I came in here, what's the process?
Yeah, it's actually the same process for students or any Wake County resident. So if you're a Wake County resident, whether or not you're a Wake Tech student, it's a really simple process. We're required to get a request for counseling, and that gives us permission to meet with you, but also protects the conversation as confidential. And then once you've put in the request for counseling on our website, you can go through and book with a counselor, and our counselors are meeting virtually with folks. All of our counselors are part-time, so it allows them to meet with students and Wake County residents in a way that works for their schedule. So they are meeting virtually, usually just via Teams or phone, and then they're able to work at that student or the small business owner's pace. So sometimes we meet with people once a month. Sometimes it's once a quarter. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 times a year, and sometimes more often. Just depends on where they're at in their business.
Okay. So they could go on the website to get this information. Are there any fees associated with the counseling sessions?
No fees. So it's all free, and they can go right on to our website. It's startup.waketech.edu, and it's a simple 2-step process. It takes less than 10 minutes to book with a counselor. And so anytime we have a student who is interested in starting their business, or they may already have started their business. A lot of times people will say, I'm not a business owner, but I'm a freelancer. But
interesting.
If you're a freelancer, you are a small business owner. It may be a side hustle. It may not be a full-time business, but you are still a small business owner.
All this different terminologies, right? Entrepreneurship, freelance, small business owner.
Yeah.
That's great. This has been a great session. I just kind of want to keep going, but in the back of my head, I'm going, let's start my business now. So
I love it.
But Cherith, this has been great. Any idea, any suggestions, any advice you have for anyone? Let's start with students mainly that want to start a business.
Yeah, so if you want to start a business, I would say the best first thing to do is to start taking notes about why you want to start a business. And then I would suggest they start attending some of the seminars that we offer. So we offer 1 to 2 hour seminars that cover the basics like how to start a business. And from there, then I would suggest they go ahead and schedule a meet with a counselor, because entrepreneurship and being a small business owner is a lot of work, just like any job. Sure. But while you are being trained when you're working at a job, when you're running your own small business, you have to be the trainer. You have to go find the assistants. So if you start that before you start your business, it sets up a better, stronger foundation.
Okay, good. So, well, I'm going to try and see if I could do a quick summary of what we did today. One is no idea is bad, right? At least share it with someone first to get that confirmation. 2 is get the resources. You could come here, you could easily get the information that you need. We're still working on projection and forecast, which is my biggest thing. Is I'm always holding back. I'm very fearful of jumping into something and investing, but I think you could all also help in that area as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So
lots of tools there.
Yeah, right. Where can they find you? Give us information about where students can reach out to you.
Yeah, so at startup.waketech.edu, or you can call us at 919-335-1019, and we can help guide you through the process of starting your business. And you should also check out our full schedule of training that we have. We will have a Side Hustle Summit coming up in April of this year, but we often have training and workshops to help guide you through starting your business.
Perfect.
Yeah.
On that note, please, if you haven't subscribed, do that, 1. And then secondly, if you need any more information, just reach out. We'll reach Cherith. You have her information. You can reach out to her as well. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity. And I'm absolutely signing up.
I love it. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate the ability to share.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.